Well, my cabbages are coming up and doing real good here. I like to, I have a $1 package of cabbage seed. There's about 50 of them, and I ended up getting 19 to grow. That's not a real good stand, but that's still, you know, a lot cheaper. A dollar for the 19 cabbages will sure add up and save me some money down the road and give me a good, healthy product. So I'll get those set out as soon as it starts getting a little bit warmer, and the danger of frost leaves. We've been getting frosts and freezes almost every night here in southwest Nebraska. But you're here for a story. Okay, one of the things that I've seen in my life and know are illegal workers. I said illegal workers. Now we're going to talk about it in the realm of fantasy and legend. When I use those two words, that means that may or may not be true, and we use that so that the G-men don't give me any trouble or the people I speak of any trouble, right? It's just fantasy. We'll leave it that way, but I'll tell the story to you guys. The stories are simple. Back in the 1970s, there was a 15-year-old kid, freshman, and he didn't want to play football or any of the sports. He said there's no money in it. And he said you get screamed at and you get run to death, and the odds of getting a scholarship or anything down the road is about 5% getting any kind of a scholarship at all, so why even do it? And he said, I want to make money now. And he said, I want to be able to buy a car, and I want to you know, have some spending money. So what he did, he went to work for a feedlot, and at 15 years old. Well, he proved that he was there on time and did what he was supposed to do when he was supposed to do it. And the owner liked him well enough, he said, I'm going to give you a raise. And that kid said, I don't want a raise. And he said, what I want is for you to teach me to drive that semi. And the owner said, I'll sure do that. And within just a few months, that kid was driving that semi very well. And he spent hour after hour learning to back it up just proper and do it as good or better than these so-called professional truck drivers. And he was doing it at 15. By the time he was 16, he got a driver's license. He was driving that on the country roads picking up cattle for the feedlot. And it wasn't very much longer, he was even driving it out on the highways. And luckily he was never stopped, but that's how he made it. He was illegally working, but he was making a living, and he was working 40 hours a week plus going to school. And he was a blessing not only to his family, which needed the money, and he was able to have a nice car through high school, and he had money when a lot of the other kids had none. And I kid you not, he was a blessing for that community. And later, by the time he was 21, he owned 2 trucks of his own. I said he owned 2 trucks of his own. And he continued, and now he has farmland, and he is a well-to-do man, to say the least. That was from the 1970s, and an illegal worker. Okay, the next one was a kid here in Mook High School. Well, he was 15 years old. He wasn't pulling the grade. And so what they did, the school just called him in and said, listen, you're not pulling the grade, you're not interested in school, quit. And I didn't think they could have a kid quit school at 15 years old, but they did. And they just told him to quit, and so he did. And he went out and talked to a local farmer, and the farmer said, yeah, I'll hire you, and he did. Well, that 15-year-old kid, within a year, was driving a semi for that farm. And he learned how to do it and did an extremely good job. And he worked till he was about 21, staying home, saving his money. He had a nice car, and he continued, and he bought him a home. That kid had his head on tight and was doing just what should be done. And he was a blessing, again, for the community by being a laborer. And true, it was not quite legal on driving the semi, but it sure worked for him, and he was an excellent driver. I saw him drive numerous times, and I had total respect for him, and his safety record was next to none. I kid you not. And so, needless to say, down the road he ended up owning his own semi and buying farm ground, and he has multiple homes in Mook now. But it was because he started at the bottom of the rung, and he was an illegal worker in his time. And if you think it's just in the past, you'd be mistaken. We have a kid right now in Mook that is a mechanic working on diesel trucks, tractors, and what have you. And I kid you not, he is very good at what he does at 15 years old. And he's working a 40-hour week plus going to high school. Now, I'm impressed with that kid, to say the least. And he brings in a nice paycheck, has a nice car. He's planning on buying a home. And he will have a home bought and paid for before he is 21 is his goal. Before he is 21, he will have his own home, he says. And he is a blessing again for the city of McCook. If you think that all illegal workers come from Mexico, we have a lot of young people that's so hungry to work. And they don't want to have to break the law to make money. And yet the government, with their over-regulations and their red tape, really pound on the young people. Now, I always said that what they need to do is stop, just as they've stopped looking at the color of your skin to see if you're worthy of a job, I think they need to stop looking at the age and go by your ability. And through testing and what have you, prove that you are as good or better than anyone else at the job that you're trying to get. This is McCook's Mr. Bill. Enjoyed this legend, did you? Rate this film.